Greetings, you've landed at the VUC, IP Communications and VoIP community. We would like to thank Simwood.com for their support. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco. Our hosted PBX is from OnSIP.com. You can go to GetOnSIP.com for a URL people can click to call you. We've been privileged over the last 5 years to be using the best conference bridge on the planet. Yes, I'm talking about ZipDX.com, full color, full featured, full HD conference bridge. Our website, vuc.me on the webs, hosted by Bluehost.com. And our worldwide local rate dial-ins are from Voxbone.com.
Welcome to VUC 597 featuring Vector.im. But before we get into that, we should like to add a bit of a promotional item because we are once again starting to preach the gospel of Astracon, which is coming up in September at the Renaissance Phoenix Glendale Hotel and Spa. I have been there twice. It's a great show. Most of our regulars will appear there, and we strongly urge you to go take a look at astracon.net. And with that, I'll hand off to Randy.
Hi, Michael. As usual, a great job. We missed you so much last week, I can't tell you. It was quite, yeah, and James is nodding. We have the regulars, and we also have Corrado with us from the depths of Scotland. Anyway, we are going to be talking about Vector.im. I've got a big fat text superimposed over my chest, which is a funny t-shirt that has nothing to do with anything, and that's Vector.im. Go check this out. Also, of course, you have apps on both Android on the Play Store and the iTunes, or whatever they call the Apple App Store for that world. I am going to present to you, without further ado now, Amandine Lepape and Matthew Hodgson, and they are going to say hello to us. Welcome back, you guys.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us, Randy.
Yeah, hi, Randy. It's good to be back.
We missed you. We missed you at Camellia World, Matthew. I'm sorry you couldn't make it.
Yeah, no, I was gutted to miss out on all the fun. But we've been in lockdown for the last few months, getting all of VAXA out the door on the technical sides and making sure that all the Matrix infrastructure is in place to support it. So Oddvar was sent as a sacrificial lamb on the altar of the German VoIP scene and seemed to have fun. But yeah, it was a shame. Hopefully next year.
Okay, let's cut to the chase. What scoop do you have for us that you didn't already do on ClueCon 2 days ago? The free switch conference 2 days ago. I'm just kidding. You can start from the beginning.
Okay, yes, I think it would be easier to unveil the scoop once the beginning is stated. So, yeah, we're here to talk about Vector. It's the very first production-ready app built on top of Matrix. It's an open-source collaboration app, as you said, running on the web, iOS, and Android. And yeah, built on top, benefiting for all the Matrix great features. So it's built around chat rooms, public, private. You can exchange messages, files, a bit of voice and video, although the conferencing are still in beta, and access the full Matrix ecosystem and all the bridges to the different other apps and integrations to other tools. But I think what we're going to do is probably do a quick demo so that it's easier to understand.
Yeah, I mean, we should probably recap what Matrix itself is,
yeah.
Because it's been a while, I think, since we had a Matrix dedicated show. You guys have kindly invited me on to heckle and a few other shows since, and shamelessly plug what we're doing, but you know, it's an opportunity for us to have a spotlight for once. And so the point of Matrix is really to build a whole new ecosystem for interoperable comms on the web. We've been going at it now for 1.5 years since we launched at TechCrunch Disrupt in September 2014, and we're actually back in San Francisco this week for the Decentralized Web Summit, which has been an incredibly exciting event organized by the Internet Archive that Bruce Kale runs up near the Presidio. And what he did was to go and grab all sorts of people together from the web world, and especially the decentralized web world, ranging from Tim Berners-Lee, who apparently has something to do with the web, to Vint Cerf, who basically invented the internet, and the entire spectrum really of folks operating in this space. And it's been an incredible week to get everybody together. So either way, the point of Matrix is that we go and provide a decentralized infrastructure for comms, a bit like the email does for messages, but we're focusing obviously on VoIP and instant messaging, even Internet of Things use cases. And things are pretty mature now. I mean, we still say we're in beta, but the spec hasn't changed in months, and on the Matrix side, the servers that we've produced are starting to scale pretty well and being increasingly robust and stable. And I guess going to come out of beta sometime soon. But it's obviously really exciting to have Vector out there now as this flagship app on the web and iOS and Android that shows what you can do with Matrix. So yeah, sorry, that was my interjection to go and steal Amandine's thunder. Shall we go into the screen share going and show where things are at right now? Probably start off with the, let me see, is that the right one? Hopefully, let's find out. Can you see my screen?
Yep, good.
Wonderful. So here we are in Vector running on the web. So this is showing the HashVuc room on IRC, which is actually bridged all the way through into Matrix. So this is a classic example of a room which is existing in multiple places at the same time. Oh, you've got Jay there joining us from IRC. I met Jay actually yesterday and the day before at the Decentralized Web Summit. So hi there, Jay. Good to see you there. And you can already see some of the fun features going on. Here you've got Amandine saying hi from her iOS app. The fact that Jay linked to the URL for Decentralized Web shows that Vector has actually pulled in a preview of that site, which is kind of fun. We can hide it if we want, or we can go and re-show it. You can see Randy there on IRC. He's got IRC after his name, chatting in from the IRC side of the bridge. And we could link this through to anything else. We could link it into I don't know, Slack or HipChat or Link, Skype, depending on the different bridges that we have around out there. Now, the Vector app here itself, I guess, looks a bit like we're trying to make. How would you describe it, Emily?
Well, we're trying to make something which is really highlighting what's happening inside and give you access to all the different discussions you have. So on the left side, yes, you have all the different rooms that you have joined. Some of them are public, some of them are private. You also have a big directory here of all the rooms which are available. So on the matrix.org server, and you see that some of them, like the Matrix HQ1, is pretty big with 3,500 users in it. And people joining it from all different type of servers. So Matthew from his matrix.org account, but Rich is using his server, and there are about 100 servers all involved in this chat room. So yeah, Vector wants to really help you focus on what's happening, so you can hide everything which is not required. You can turn notifications specifically for rooms, so you see that there are red dots when you're mentioned, green one if you're not, and rooms which are just bold without dots because you just have to don't get notifications out of them. And the read notifications as well are pretty interesting. If we go here down the page, that's Matthew's mentioned. What can I say? Matthew will not. Can I say hi? He's going to check your answer, right?
I'm just doing Buck at the moment. We'll be back in a bit. There we go.
You will see people reading it and the read receipts coming down.
Yeah, so if you look at the right-hand side here, we've got Facebook or Google Hangout style read receipts. Oh, there we go, little Tetris game happening as people actually read it and their faces go and drop down the right-hand side. It's so useful. I can't believe that Slack doesn't have it. And once you have this and start using it, you really, really miss it elsewhere.
Another interesting thing is that you can you can get a permalink for every message that is sent in conversations, which make it really easy for people to quote something or redirect people at other discussions. And you have guest access as well, so just send the link to the message, people get on the web, access to the message as a guest, no need to create an account. Trying to make things really seamless if you want to share and work together, basically.
So, for instance, this room here is actually bridged with Slack. So the guys at Decentralized Web Summit started off with a Slack, which is catastrophic because it's a decentralized web summit and Slack is the least decentralized system out there. And so they kindly let us bridge it straight into Matrix, and now loads and loads of people are using it from Matrix. And you can see here's a file that they've gone and shared. This is a photo that got taken from the ceiling of the Internet Archive. If we go and look at this in its original here, and zoom in a bit, see who we've got, gives you an idea of some of the folks around. You can see me there with my Matrix top on. You can see Brewster Kale there. You've got, I think, Tim Berners-Lee over there. All sorts of people from the sort of workshop that happened on the first day there. So, I mean, that's just obviously file sharing, but it's kind of fun that that was shared, I think, from the Slack side of the bridge. If we look at who sent this, Tracy Poo, and if I hover over her avatar, it says Slack Tracy Poo, but she came in from there. If I go and use the server-side search in Vector, so I'm going to search for, I don't know, Tim Berners-Lee. This is the gentleman of the hour. This is now looking server-side on the entire history of the room. And sure enough, you've got people chatting with him. And if we click through on one of these messages, you can see we've got the green bar here. This is one of the permalinks that Amandine was talking about. And if you look at the URL bar here, this can actually be copied and pasted and will take us straight back to that message wherever we go. So if I go, say, to Matrix HQ, I'm going to paste that URL back in like that, then straight back to that. And there you've got this rather amusing thing of here, Tim joining on the Matrix side of the bridge using Vector, one of our first users of Vector, in fact, after it launched, which is pretty cool, going and chatting with people, asking whether /me works like any good IRC addict should, and talking with people both on the Matrix side and the Slack side of the bridge. So basically, it's just merging everything together into one great big ecosystem here. That makes sense, Randy?
Yeah, I was going to ask, first of all, we should take a look at Michael's rig to just show briefly, if nothing else, how these things look. I'll put him on now because he's ready to go. So this is the Android client, correct? He has to turn his audio on, ladies and gentlemen.
Awesome.
Yeah, this is the Android client right here, and so I'm just looking at this VUC Matrix channel, which I guess is receiving message from everything and everybody. And as it happens, I tend to prefer using a keyboard.
So you got a keyboard hooked up to the, what is it? Is that your Nexus 7?
Yeah, it's a Bluetooth keyboard in this particular instance, and it's a little bit fiddly, but it does work. And I'm seeing all the messages showing up here that you guys were putting in the web client and all that sort of thing. This is all pretty cool stuff.
You even got the read receipts down there on the right-hand side too. Have you tried a video call from this yet, by the way? So it's on Android. If you go to the contextual menu at the top right, there should be a little hamburger menu, I think, which if you tap, should have a call option on it. And what you can't do, you'd need to do it in a one-to-one room. So if you opened up a new chat with me or something, then we could completely confuse the system by going and doing a one-to-one video call at the same time as the actual Hangouts, which we're broadcasting via at the moment.
Okay, Matthew, two things. First of all, I think it's maybe worth, if you haven't already done it, because my attention is called to 20 production things. So if you've already said this, fine. But if not, we were looking at that. I think it was on Reddit. There was a long discussion of Matrix, and the point being that the explanation of the protocol or the API and the relation to Vector, can we get into that a little bit? Or have you covered that by any chance while I was looking at another screen? Because I've got 4 in front of me.
No, we didn't. We didn't.
Okay, let's back up for just a second then. Let's go back to Matrix, which we've spoken several times on VUC, and look at the relationship between what we're looking at now, which is Vector, and Matrix. And do we call it a protocol, or how does that all work? I mean, there's at least 10 minutes on that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think.
Yeah, I think it's a good point to try to explain the difference between both. But basically, it's simple. Matrix is the protocol, the system we use, and Vector is just the app. So Vector is literally just the UI layer on top of it, using all the Matrix server and Matrix APIs to link to other applications.
And it's just one of many possible apps on top of Matrix. So you can think of it being, I know somebody on Hacker News yesterday compared it to Gmail, but for the email ecosystem. So if Matrix is like email, but for VoIP, which is basically what we hope it is, and for instant messaging, then Vector is a flagship email client, just like Gmail is for the email ecosystem. Although I probably could describe it more like Thunderbird. Not that Thunderbird is necessarily the coolest email client out there, but it's open source and it's very, very functional, and that's. I guess another analogy would be if Matrix is like the web, real-time web, then Vector should be like Chrome, open source but pretty glossy and usable browser for it.
As a normal mortal, I would say, I installed Vector on my Android device. I've messed with it on the web, and basically it gives you, because I had Matrix, I had an account on matrix.org, so it gives you an in, so it's basically the UI. I think you just said that. But people really need to go to, and let me I have a thing prepared so that I can show everybody that, yes, it's Vector.im. You need to go there. And also, if you go to vuc.me, by the way, I think I actually finally corrected the links on that, so that when you click on Android Play, on Android, you go to the Play Store and you can install it. Or if you click on the Apple logo, you can go install it on an iPhone. And I think it's a great idea that you guys have done that you've put these things on the 2 stores, because basically this is the way people should experience it. And I should also repeat the fact that a couple of people said, I don't remember where I saw this, I don't think it was on Reddit, but it may have been, that the UI was actually really, really mature, considering, I think, who said this? I mean, you may know. Someone said, boy, for an open source project, I'm really impressed. You remember where that came from? I don't know. As far as the UI, the UX on
yeah, I think from Hacker News that someone was saying this, which is always great if we manage to actually achieve what we were trying to do, so have a very polished and glossy.
Yeah, because generally they're not that good. So we're all pleased with it. I think it's impressive.
So yeah, I think something which is missing and might clarify things a bit in the future is that we would probably have something like powered by Matrix, so that any other applications built on top of the Matrix protocol have this small powered by Matrix logo, and then you know that you can talk between each of the apps easily to in terms of end user understanding of what it can mean.
I think that's a great idea. I'm going to call on Mr. James Bodie, who, unless Andy wants to take it, James, you can tell us, because you folks at TruePhone have been using this tool. Why don't you talk a little? Let's speak to us. Speak to us.
Guys, am I? Can you hear me now?
Yes, you sound fantastic.
Yeah, we've been supporters of Matrix for some time, haven't we, Matthew?
Yeah.
Yes.
And also we've been users of Vector. And if after the last, I don't know, how long is it, 6 months, the Vector.im beta's been going, I've been using it to access the VUC IRC feed, and it just makes a painful experience, which is IRC, into something which is quite usable. So thank you for that.
And this is a classic use case that a lot of people are just using Matrix as and Vector as a big IRC bouncer in the Skype, but that is actually a really useful thing because there are so many communities like the HashVUC community, and well, I think there are about 60,000 channels on Freenode right now, and over 200,000-300,000 active users at any given point. And that's a substantial amount of the kind of technorati of the world, and IRC itself is charming in its own weird and wonderful ways, but putting a really glossy client on top of it, but critically breaking the content out of IRC and archiving it in the decentralized Matrix network, hopefully is a bit of a sweet use case for at least those of us who love IRC.
Yes, and I'm getting back into IRC, and of course, there's a lot more to the Vector than just IRC and the simple things. So one of the things that I really like is the open market SMS Gateway. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that? Because it's one of my favorite features.
Sure. So, I mean, that's more a Matrix thing than a Vector thing. But the idea of Matrix is to provide these bridges through to all these protocols, whether it's IRC or XMPP or the PSTN via something like SMS. An open market is a company who I used to work for, and is a subsidiary of Amdocs, which is the company that bankrolls us to work on Matrix as part of our day job. And so they're the world's leading SMS aggregator, providing really simple HTTP APIs for sending and receiving SMS. So it was only natural that we would go and use their SMS gateway to bridge the entirety of the PSTN into Matrix. So that if you want to use Matrix as a way to communicate via SMS, then you can just pick a phone number, and as long as it's in the UK or the US, I believe, at the moment, you can then go and to have a two-way conversation with it through Matrix. So in one extreme, you can have someone on IRC talking through to somebody on SMS, or somebody on Slack talking through to somebody on SMS, as it's completely bridging the two protocols together.
Well, Tim and I managed to get calls between our mobile devices, which, I don't know if you can click on it, you can see.
Oh yeah.
It's not a particularly flattering angle of Tim, I have to say.
Well, you know.
Don't worry about that.
It is. You know what, though? He's got shiny stars over there, so that's not so bad.
This is where we make it all flash.
Yeah.
So, Matthew, how quickly could you set up an SMS service to demonstrate it? Can you do it?
You've got a test one still hanging around. Let me see if I can quickly demo it. I mean, it's not these.
I know you love
that we want to share with you today, but I'll see whether I can quickly put it up.
So Oddbart did exactly this demo with a sort of in dangerous demos with the nervousness, which she said, I haven't actually looked at this SMS gateway since I wrote it a year ago. I have no idea if it still works. And then proceeded to do the demo, and of course it worked perfectly. And we don't know if how scripted that was, but anyway, it worked. So
it wasn't scripted at all, I assure you that. I don't think there was any expectation to do it, but hey, if it worked a few weeks ago in Camellia World, I'm sure it's still working now. There's probably a whole bunch of people who need to send free SMS out into the world as we speak. So if we're here, let's have a shot at it. I'll go and I'll do this one. So I'll go and share my iPhone here. And so here's my iPhone 6 Plus. I'm going to jump into Vector. Oh, and you can see here HashVUC running on Vector on iOS. The iOS app is particularly sweet in terms of the performance. You can see infinite scrolling back through the annals of HashVUC here. And if I go back in here, I've got about 600 rooms I'm in right now. So one of these somewhere, let's see, is going to be my phone number. And there it is. And the last time I tested this was on March the 30th, so let's see whether things are still going on okay here. Is the screen share coming through all right? Can you see
Yes,
it?
perfect.
So it's going to be a bit anticlimactic because I'm obviously going to send a message from Vector on my iPhone through to my phone on SMS. Obviously, I'm roaming in San Fran at the moment, so I dread to think whether GSM is going to let us work at all, but let's see. Hit send. So off she goes, and hopefully we'll see the SMS coming in. Come on, there we go. Awesome. So it's gone and allocated me a phone number, this MSISDN 7860015656, and you can see a whole bunch of test messages, in fact, back from March the 30th. And let's see if we can go the other way.
What happens if somebody sends, somebody who's not you sends a message to that number?
It will work.
What? So it'll come into, or where's the number
All
gone?
the way into Matrix, and you can see the message coming in there as a push notification at the top, and
Well,
go back to
Let's try. Can you read me the number? Not yours, but the other one.
yeah, for sure. So let me go
7.
back. 1 second. Yeah, there it is. So it's 78600156.
0156. That's a dodgy old number, isn't it? Hello, hello.
I think it's a Vodafone DMN from memory that Open Markets are using there. At least I think that's what's going on here. Let's find out. Again, it's been almost a year since we've tested this particular service, but you can see here.
Sent her a message.
Okay, so this should obviously be going into Vector, so let's go into Vector, and hopefully we'll see an invite coming in, hopefully, no pressure. You can see all of the first lines of my various embarrassing chats here.
Well, perhaps that one doesn't work. Yeah.
This may be a too dangerous demo, James, you never know.
I know, I like to push you to the edge. But it's impressive that it works in America, though.
Yeah, well, this should be coming in. Ooh, you know, I wonder whether this does work. You know, I don't think it does. I need to initiate the conversation through to you first, because what we're doing is using a pool of phone numbers as the originator on the
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, Oddvar said something about having to accept your relationship, otherwise you could spam people. So there's some two-way handshake you have to do to agree to be part of the game.
If we scroll all the way back to the beginning, you can see that you get a message saying, Matthew on Matrix.org wants to send you a message from Matrix. Reply aloud to receive it. So yeah, it's very much.
Yeah. That's my number in the Hangout chat.
Yeah. So I mean that's not focused too much on the SMS,
okay.
Because
I know you don't want to show that off too much, but
can we do our scoop thing? Yeah.
Yeah. No, let's do the scoop.
You, Randy. In exchange for it's made this particularly interesting for these viewers.
What are we doing? Because I was.
we're going to do the scoopy bit.
I'm trying to give you a scoop. God damn it!
Come on, wake up.
What am I supposed to wake up to?
You just say yes.
Well, let's find out. So one of the things we've been working on a lot over the last year has been end-to-end encryption in Matrix, and this is particularly important for the Matrix. Sorry, being distracted by Michael having a sneezing fit. It's a particularly important thing for Matrix because the data ends up getting shared and replicated over lots of different servers. So in the Matrix HQ room that we were looking at earlier, it's about 4 servers split with about 3,500 people over them. And so every time I send a message, that message gets replicated over all of those servers. Now, that's fine if a public room, and in fact it's kind of cool, the room is archived over all the participants. But if it was a private conversation, that's not so cool because you end up with many copies of the sensitive information being duplicated everywhere. And so we've been working a lot on end-to-end encryption to make sure that even if a nasty server admin tries to snoop on the messages, or indeed somebody is sniffing the net, see the actual contents of the message, and they can only ever be of the conversation. Let's see. Bleeding edge.
I guess that wasn't just me.
No, Matthew, your bandwidth has just taken
you had
a
just a
dip.
moment of packet loss.
Give it a try and see how it plays out, but we'll see.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. As I said, we're sitting in a commune somewhere in San Fran here, so the Wi-Fi is communal almost in all respects. So I was explaining the importance of end-to-end for Matrix and the fact that about a year ago we took the best specification out, which at the time was called, is now called, which is open whisper system, and it's famously used for its cryptography. And Google Signal, which is open.
Yes, unfortunately, your bandwidth seems to have collapsed. So whoever's
your scoop is so secret that we can't hear it.
But hey, I wanted to mention the fact that it's the 5th birthday of WebRTC. Tim, you would be one of the appropriate people to comment.
Yeah, no, and the numbers are just amazing. I don't know if anybody saw that tweet, but they're like, the 2 billion browsers, how many billion minutes a month, a week, in fact. And then the thing that surprised me is that the volume of data channel traffic. So the Chrome guys published.
How do they know? Where are these stats coming from?
Chrome. So Chrome has an anonymized agent, and a percentage of Chromes where you haven't said that you don't want this behavior. So when you install Chrome, it says, do you want us to give feedback to Google about for quality purposes? And if you haven't said no to that, then some percentages of Chromes will report some percentages of. So Google, I think, are pretty confident of those numbers. But they're Chrome only. It doesn't tell you anything about Firefox. Well, I mean, tells you less about Firefox. But yeah, no, 5 years, it seems like an absolute age. But what's nice is I think a lot of the mistakes that we could have made, we didn't make. We made some. But it's everywhere. I mean, it's in Matrix, it's in Slack, it's in Hangouts, it's in, everywhere. Wire,
so many things.
Facebook, all of those places.
Yeah, so many things. I compare it to Ajax. I don't know. Every time I've said this, I don't know if anybody's ever responded, but to me, it's like this kind of a game changer thing. I mean, it's a really, really big. Why is Tim on? Okay, let me. It's a really big thing to me, and I think it's fantastic. So, but now it's almost like we're blasé. So now everything's got that. You can share screens, you can send files, you can do video conferences and audio conferences, you can record multi-point audio conferences on WebRTC. It's good for so many things.
So coming back to the thing that Matthew is at, the event with Tim Berners-Lee, the Decentralized Web Conference, I think it's also interesting from that perspective, because what it does is it's particularly the data channel, but also the peer-to-peer aspect, is it allows you to decentralize stuff in a way that we've got Matthew back now, but it lets you decentralize stuff. I was just saying, Matthew, that WebRTC lets you decentralize stuff in a way that it never used. That we always used to have a big server in the middle, and you don't have to now. You do in some cases if you want kind of mass connectivity, but individuals and small groups don't actually need servers anymore. And I think that's kind of on topic for your decentralized web. But let's try and get the scoop out before your bandwidth falls away again.
Yeah, sorry about that. The communal Wi-Fi might be running a little bit out of luck with us. But basically, I was saying that we've been working on end-to-end encryption for the last year, and as of yesterday, we got it integrated into Vector as the first very early cut. Now, it's not landed in the official Vector release yet. It's actually there on the develop branch for anybody intrepid enough to try that. But it's incredibly exciting because it's using Ulm, our own implementation of the double ratchet specification, which is an Apache licensed cryptographic ratchet that we've released on matrix.org/git/Ulm. And it basically provides absolute bleeding edge end-to-end encryption throughout all of Matrix. And critically, it's matrix aware in that it handles replaying conversation history incredibly intelligently. because Matrix is all about scroll back and your conversation history, it would be a disaster if you added a new device onto your account and you couldn't synchronize your message history over. And some axolotl and double ratchet implementations deliberately make this impossible, because it obviously is a security potential flaw if other people can add devices and then read your history. But we want to make it a user option. So you can have a room which is completely perfectly for security and secrecy, or you can have a room with no crypto, or you can have a balance in between. So I'm going to try doing another screen share and hope that
Bandwidth has gone again.
Hopefully momentarily.
Okay. Let me try a screen share again. Let's share my entire screen, so you'll briefly see the reflection of Mr. Jones Bodie playing with pens to try to distract us. And I've got two vectors here. They're running locally off my developed version of Matrix Vector.
You can see what happens when you just hit Vector.im/beta and you get as a guest and access to the full directory.
I'm going to log in as one of them as Matthew 2, which is one of my test users.
What happened to evil Matthew?
Matthew 2 is evil Matthew, I believe. Matthew Test, which is another test user, predictably enough. Just wait a minute whilst the Bornet connection connects me through. And hopefully I've got a conversation going on here with myself, other Matthew. Okay, this was just me testing earlier, and here's the other side of that conversation. So if I just say something now like, hello, other Matthew, and you can see the message comes in on both sides here, and yay, it works. So at the moment this is unencrypted. But if I go and type the secret /encrypt on, and also on this side type /encrypt on, you can see my read receipts coming in here. Then, if I tap on, let me see, other Matthew, who I'm talking to here, I can see the different devices which that guy has. Now, this is very basic user interface. We're going to make it a lot better. It's got the fingerprints of the other device here, and of the devices, the 3 devices of the other user. And likewise on this side, I've got the 4 devices here. And I've actually gone, and none of these are verified yet, so I don't know yet which I can trust. So if I send a message, hello, then I can see here that it's coming in as green because it's trusted, because I sent it myself. But here it's kind of interesting. I don't get to see the message. It's instead red. Because it's not been actually sent to me. It's not a trusted connection yet. Now, this is a really important thing for end-to-end. You need to know
Oh dear.
person's side of things, and it would have a you have no idea. And got probably on the other Matthew side. No, hang on, myself. Right, it's myself, Matthew 2. And you can see one of these is already verified because that's actually me. And if I match this up on this side and click verify on it, ding, it's gone green. Now, if you send the message again, hello, hopefully, oops, interesting. Now, so
it's green, not included in recipients. It's green.
have you lost us?
Yes, you're back again there.
Are we back?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay, perfect. Well, basically, we're just trying to show the end-to-end encryption there.
So, before we lose you, Matthew, can I ask you what happens with server-side search?
So we've just descoped server-side search entirely for now, but obviously it's something that we'll be looking at in the future, and there are technologies out there these days for going and supporting server-side search. Oh, and you can see, by the way, that we've just now verified both sides of the conversation, so we have a full encryption going back and forth. And if we look at the source of this message, you can see that it's no longer a plain text JSON, it's got the whole ciphertext of the ratchet in there. But yeah, you basically lose server-side search, but that's not a problem necessarily, because most clients can save all of their history. The client side will be adding this to Vector Web quite soon, so you can always search locally on your copy of the history there.
Okay, I've got a slightly different question. It's to do with scalability. I mean, at some stage, in fact, it's probably about 3 months ago, Matrix is really, really taking off, and so the volume of traffic within the Matrix universe is just increasing exponentially. Is that going to cause a problem with storage and scalability in the long term?
So yeah, we've had some real scalability challenges as Matrix has taken off over the last few months, but we've also put a hell of a lot of work into fixing this. And in fact, all of the work on that landed in the last couple of days, just in time for the Vector launch. And we now have the ability to horizontally scale Matrix servers. So right now, matrix.org is running off 3 different nodes. One handling all of the push, one handling all of the sync operations, and the other handling everything else. And we can keep adding on the push and sync nodes as necessary, and that's brought us an awful lot of headroom for the Vector launch, and indeed the performance has been perfect over the last 24 hours since we've been on Hacker News and had all the decentralized web people playing with it, which has been great. But yeah, about a month ago we had a really embarrassing crunch point where it was taking many seconds to send messages into the biggest rooms. But so hopefully you'll see it's pretty reliable.
Yeah, Matrix HQ, you fire off your message and go and have a cup of tea and come back. And
yeah, but no longer. In fact, I can even give you the stats on this at the risk of jinxing everything by going into trying to do this again. So here's
no, the words, Tim will be coaching you. The words you use are, I haven't done this before, it may not work.
Yes, I certainly haven't done this before. It almost certainly won't work, but given we're having such good luck with connectivity today, let's try anyway. So I'm just going to, can you see this all right?
Yes, well, you can see the Google
search.
So Google search, I'm just going to jump into Grafana, which is the monitoring dashboard that we use to check the matrix.org server. And you can see
that doesn't require any authentication. Anybody can have a look at that, can they?
It did actually require authentication, and this is behind a VPN, but we could expose it to the internet. Right now, the primary server is hovering at around 50% utilization, which obviously isn't great, but critically, it's no longer saturating ever, and our average send time is hovering between the 0 to 500 milliseconds mark, although we did have a slight spike apparently at 9:30 when it went up to 3 seconds, which is obviously bad. But trust me, if we went and zoom out a bit on this to the last month or so, I think I can go back that far, hopefully. Let's see. That's last week. This is now showing the last month. Let's see if we can go all the way back to April 28th. Ah, no, so we can't, because you can see the point that we cut over to the new system a few days ago, I think.
Okay.
Oh, no, we can see. Okay, so you can see basically historically back then we've got some major spikes going on, but now it's much, much happier. And in fact, there's some disaster there where messages were taking 30, 40 seconds. But now it's all basically down to around 100, 200 mils, which for messaging purposes is quite adequate. Okay. So hopefully that came through and was vaguely legible. So you can see yesterday was particularly good, with everything between 250 and 150 mils, apart from one slight spike when it went up to a second. And CPU-wise, we're not saturating anymore. It's down between 20 to 50% generally. So it's basically good news all around on the scalability, and there's a lot more work to be done there, but it's at least keeping things all right. Oh, yes, yeah. Sorry. Hello, James.
Yeah, this, I guess you're at the same sort of position where Skype was, just before they went totally bananas. And I think you're probably at that point where you've got enough functionality, stability, scalability that all of a sudden you're going to
Be bought by
yeah,
Microsoft.
yeah, well, no, because you're an open source project, and you're never ever going to do that because it's power to the people and everything. But going back to the history of Skype, one of the most useful things and interesting things they did was they kept a running stats count on the number of registered users, so you could see the curve going up. And in fact, they had a web view with a little counter. You could actually see it incrementing really, really quickly. And that was one of the most interesting things they did. And rather interestingly, they're in decline now, aren't they?
Yeah. So, I mean, that was a very interesting thing they did, and there were things like the Skype numerology blog, which I used to read a lot of, which was quite amusing to see the amount of analysis that folks were going and putting into those numbers. Ironically, we can't really do that for Matrix because it's decentralized. We know that there are about 500-600 servers that we can see from the Matrix.org one, but there are many, many private ones out there as well, or ones which just simply don't federate with the Matrix.org one. We know how many users are on our own one, so the one whose stats we were looking at just there is up at about 220,000 users on the system, and we could certainly draw the graph of that going up over time, but it's a lot more fun to think of the wider ecosystem. Now, when people run a server, they have the option of opting in to share stats on their usage, but in practice, I think very many people don't bother doing that. But there are a couple of other big servers out there. I don't know whether we should publish those stats or not. It feels slightly privacy violating, perhaps, but it would be really cool if we did. It would be great to have.
As long as there's no linkage between individual users, then I don't see there's any problem with that. And people like to get that warm, fuzzy feeling about lines going upwards, don't they?
Well, I know that James Tagg, TruePhone, has always been very enthusiastic about wanting to see that counter on the front page, and no, perhaps we should do it at last.
Yes, in fact, he was going to whiz home and try and join us because he wanted to see this. But hopefully, he'll be able to watch this on the recording because he's very, very interested in this.
So with the numbers involved in this now, and there was originally just Matrix.org as an authorization server. I've noticed that Vector has its own at the moment. Is authorization to the network going to become a problem, or is that something that just needs replicating around different places around the world?
So there are two things here. There's the identity mapping problem, and then there's the actual authorization. Now, authorization is done by the home server, and it's just the server that you run yourself. And people have been adding in LDAP authentication, they've been adding in CAS, capture-based call flows, OpenID Connect, OAuth, all of these mechanisms. So actually logging in is fine. And now what the identity server does isn't actually authorization or authentication. We really misnamed it. Honestly, it should be called an identity mapping server. What it does instead is to simply map your email address, your phone number, through to the Matrix ID. So it's just a discovery mechanism, and that's what the Matrix.org and the Vector.im ones are doing. It's optional. You don't have to use it. You could just use a pure Matrix ID, but we have it there so you can try to discover people by their email address when you're inviting them. And honestly, the design needs to be fixed. At the moment, there are two of them, and it's effectively a centralized point of failure for people using that system. And we're doing a lot of work on the Matrix side in terms of trying to work out how best to structure the identity mapping going forward.
Yeah, I think that's something I haven't mentioned on Vector, that it's to invite people to chat, you can just invite them by email. It's not necessarily obvious when you get to it, so you don't have to create a Matrix ID or anything, you just send an email and it works well.
Yep.
Should we at this point ask for questions on ZipDX? I see Andy was nodding his head too. He may have. Andy, you have anything?
Other than the one I just asked, no, not really.
Okay. Anyone on ZipDX? Fred, Drew, Robert, anybody? Or on IRC, please type it in. Otherwise, we should probably free these folks up. so they can get out from behind the or in front of the closet that they're sitting at.
Yes, come out. Oh, you are out of the closet.
Yeah, they're in front of the closet.
To go back in the closet.
Go back in the closet.
It's worth touching on. I know we talked about this last time you were on, but the minimum hardware requirements for the server, I know they're pretty meager, and we spent what 6-9 months running a Matrix server on a Raspberry Pi, which actually ended up being more reliable than the virtual machine, the big one. But can you just very quickly go over those, Matthew?
Yeah, I'm sure. So yes, it just about fits on a Raspberry Pi, ideally a Raspberry Pi 2, and it really depends on how you tune it. If you start drawing huge rooms, it can go a bit.
Oops.
Oops, indeed. We're having some technical difficulties here, as they say.
That's what happens when you stay in a commune.
You're in a commune?
I've seen hotel Wi-Fi that's worse than that.
Yeah.
But you haven't seen hotel
surprising.
closets like that, though, have you?
No.
Well, no, you never get that many hangers in a hotel closet.
Generally, yeah. I was exactly what I was going to say.
Well, not the kind of hotel you go to, perhaps.
Well, James, we're not all on telco expense accounts.
Oh, if only.
Are we back now?
Oh, yes, you're back.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bit blurry, but you're back.
Sorry about that. So saying half a gig of RAM basically just about fits on the Raspberry Pi. It used to be bad, it's got better.
Losing you again, Matthew,
Yeah.
if you can hear us.
We're jinxed.
So if you're going to run a busy server, what are we really talking about now? We're talking about something like that?
You just cut out for me, Andy.
That's because I managed, unfortunately, to just hit my mic mute button at the same time as I spoke.
All right. Repeat the question.
Okay. So are we saying essentially that you really want a machine with a couple of gigs of RAM in it if you're going to have a server that's in any way active?
Yeah, precisely. I mean, for development and personal use, Raspberry Pi with half a gig is the minimum. But for anything remotely serious, you probably want a couple of gig right now, unfortunately. We will make it better, and there are much better projects out there, like the rumor Rust on Matrix project, which will be much more svelte, but they're not ready for production yet.
So okay. I was going to ask what's next in the pipeline, if we dare ask. I mean, given that you're an open source project, you know, that's a least legitimate question. You don't have to answer it, obviously, but you know.
Good one.
Well, obviously, we need to deploy the end-to-end stuff everywhere. You want to talk about Vector-specific stuff?
Yeah, we have some fun things coming up on Vector, trying to address more the idea that if today when you work, everyone has built all the tools and integrated them in the messaging apps, but we want to fix the fact that as a user, it's just completely overwhelming you under information and notification, and you're just getting more and more information, and you cannot disconnect because otherwise you're lost. So we want to fix this, and we are working on some nice UI tricks to improve that.
Yeah, I mean, basically our mantra is to fix the clutter problem. So many people find Slack and IRC frustrating due to the sheer volume of notifications and information overload. And so we really want to fix the manageability of that on the Vector side. On the Matrix side, with editable messages will be a really important thing to land. Infrastructure for threading is a key thing as well. And as many bridges as we can. Right now, only the IRC and Slack and SMS ones are really ready for prime time, and there's so many other things to bridge. And
on Vector side, which is going to come up pretty soon, is the ability to actually provision these bridges into the chat rooms very easily, because today you have to run your own bridge, and set it up is quite complicated, so we're just finalizing the UI to actually just have to click 3 buttons to add GitHub integration to your chat room or a bridge to Slack. Yeah, so service hosting basically. The project's code name is Scalar,
at the moment as part of the matrix vector scalar kind of naming convention. We're not sure what we're going to describe it as when we launch it, but that will be coming up pretty soon.
Okay, if there are no other further questions or comments, I will conclude simply by saying thank you, folks. Things like matrix.org are advancing the science, pushing the edge, and we thank you for being a part of the community and for doing what you're doing.
Thank you for having us on. Sorry for the technical problems we've had with Wi-Fi here, but thanks for your patience and bearing with us.
You know what? We all have lived that, and that is not a problem. I think we've seen some interesting things here. I think WebRTC in and of itself is, as we said, 5 years old. Apparently today, if I understood correctly, from a post I saw. But there are just so many interesting things going on, and so many people are working hard to advance the state of the art. And I think if I could retitle things, it would be state of the art. Thank you again, Amandine and Matthew, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Enjoy the Bay Area while you're there, too.
For another few hours.
All right. Ciao, everybody. This is the VUC. And Corrado, Andy, James, Michael Graves, and Tim, and myself, Randy. Thanks, everybody. We're going to stop this and move on to the mature audiences only.